Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, welcome back to Claiborne. So there's a check in my mailbox and I'm about to double its value. I'll show you how. So I'm on my way to the bank to deposit my check, and so what I'm going to do is, and I've already called the cabin company and told them that I plan to just pay off my cabin. So with these little cabins, like the one that I live in, they are rent to own. And so you can go down and you can put down whatever you have, excuse me, on a cabin, and then you sign a contract and you end up paying twice what the cabin's worth. So it's almost like one of those rent-a-center deals. You remember those? Where you ended up paying 3 times the value of a TV or a fridge or a washer and dryer or whatever. Yeah. So these cabins, you do end up paying twice the retail value of the cabin. And so if you can at all pay it off early, then you have no penalties, nothing like that for paying it off early. And so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to deposit the check, and as soon as it clears, I'm going to pay off my cabin and save myself all of that interest. Okay, so back home from the bank now from depositing the check. And that money, a portion of it is already earmarked for paying off my cabin. So that's how I double my money, is when I want to purchase something and I don't have all the money up front and I make my payments, as soon as I can pay it off, I pay it off. Because I think about it like this, like you have something that has this much value, and then you've paid this much because it's retail, so they have to get their chunk, and then of course you pay taxes or whatever, and then you're going to pay all that interest, which doesn't increase the value of the thing that you have. It just stretches out the money that you have to give away now just to have something that's valued way down here. And so interest to me just doesn't make sense. I just don't like the whole idea of interest. And so when I can pay something off, I pay it off. And that's how I feel like I can move on to the next thing. So I could take that little bit of money that I just deposited today and I could take a trip, or I could buy some jewelry, or I couldn't buy a big screen TV. I could, but I wouldn't have anywhere to put it, right? But why would I? Because now I pay off my debt, and I don't pay that interest, that if I wanted a piece of jewelry or a trip or something, then I would just start saving for that. And I'm no financial advisor, but this is just the way I see life. So, so how do I get my money? Well, you guys are not going to believe this, but this is the honest to goodness truth. It's just like love or friendship or family or whatever. Instead of shutting myself off from things and thinking that I won't have things, or I don't like things, or I don't want things, or I reject things or push them away, instead I open myself up to receive. And if you can envision what I'm saying, like, it's one thing to hear these words, but it's something else altogether to open yourself up to receive. So that's what I do. And when I do that, things just sort of happen. They just happen. And sometimes even I'm surprised by it. I'm like, okay, but I don't question it. I'm just like, well, I opened myself up to receive, and look, I just received. And so that's what happened. So it was kind of the same thing when we bought this land. It was just here, and the location was amazing, and the woods, nobody else wanted this place. They couldn't see the forest for the trees. They bypassed it for years. The owner was so desperate to sell it that he was willing to even finance to just unload the land. And it was 17 acres of beautiful woods right here in the heart of the touristy Ozarks. And I said, oh yeah, heck yeah. Now also, when we sold our house, I had money then, and I knew that in order to do anything with this land, we would have to have equipment. And so we went out and we purchased, with no interest, we purchased our equipment outright. So our tractor, our ATV, chainsaws, all those things, we purchased all of that outright. I also purchased my camper that I lived in, because that's how small I started when I first got here. I said, well, I can live on 17 acres out in the middle of the beautiful Ozarks, but I'm going to have to live pretty tightly for a while. And we did. We bought a camper that didn't even cost $2,000. And I fixed it up comfortably, slowly over the summertime as I could afford it. And I fixed it up and I made it a home. And I lived in it for, what, a year? I think I lived in that camper for 1 year before we got this. Yeah, because this is my third year here. This is my third year in here. And then we sort of upgraded to the cabins. Now the cabins are rent to own. So if you miss a payment, then they come take your cabin. I mean, they have no problem disconnecting electric, right? But if you pay all of that interest, it's one of those things again where your cabin is really valued at this, and then you're paying retail, and then you're paying interest on it. So you're doubling like what it would normally cost. So if you pay it off, and that's another thing, is always, always, always make sure that whatever you purchase, there is no penalty for early payoff. That is so important. That is so important. That was the first question I asked him, and I said, I want to see that in writing where I can pay off this cabin, and I know that I'm not going to have any penalties for early payoff. And he said, okay, I can show you everything. And he did, and that's when we signed the contracts. And I really wasn't planning to be able to pay off the cabin this soon, but now the money's there, so it's already earmarked to pay off the cabin. And so what am I going to do with the rest of the money? Well, there's not going to be a whole lot left, but what there is left is already earmarked for a second room onto my house. So hopefully soon I'm going to open myself up to receiving a bedroom. And so I'll take out my window and we'll make it a doorway, and we ourselves got plenty of lumber, right? I've got nothing but lumber and a bunch of guys that love building. Oh my goodness, these guys are just building angels. They're angels. They descend upon my land and they build things, and I love them. I love them for this. So they love getting to be creative and to just sort of go crazy on building. And so we'll have a bedroom soon, and I don't know about soon, but we will have a bedroom and another pole barn. My husband needs a pole barn to keep our equipment in. So all right guys, so that's how we did it. So if you have any questions, put them down in the comments for me. Love and light, blessed be.